Here we are in After Effects, and we're gonna get ready to start creating the compositing of our sequence. And just to remember what we're planning to do, we are planning to create an animation of this layout, in which we are going to start with an animated camera from the first panel. The camera is going to, you know, pan down as it's kind of moving away from the page, while I see my character probably motion there a little bit, and then the camera is going to zoom out even more to reveal the last panel, which is full page of the screen. So how can I just do this in After Effects, bringing all compositions together? So first of all, before I do any compositing, I'm going to build a layout in After Effects. I know that this file I made in Photoshop, and it has the frame size that I want. I mean, this file is about 3000 pixels across. Let me just see if I look at it. I look at the information here. I have a JPEG of it, and if I hold it up there, I see the dimensions of this are 3000 by 3882. So that one has a big size information there. I'm gonna start using that one as my initial layout to work on my page. That layout has how many times. So I'm gonna start by creating a new composition, and this composition is going to be HD 1080 at 24 frames per second, and I'm gonna keep it just the duration he has. This is going to be called my master composition. So I'll just call it there. Let's see if I can change that name there. I'm gonna see if I can do this. Okay, when I hit OK, and then I'll try to. Oh, my computer is not wanting to do it. I'll see if I hit enter. No. Ouch. Alright, let's see what we can do about this. So I'm gonna cancel this, and okay, so I had to restart my After Effects, but here I am. So same again, just rename my composition master composition. Same settings right there. I'm gonna keep the length for now. I'm gonna say OK, and that creates my empty composition. So this composition is going to be, I'm gonna just make it a little smaller so I get to see the whole frame. And the rest is not as a 1920 by 1080, so it's going to be 16 by 9, and I'm going to be using this for bringing in my using it for my final animation of my layout. I'm going to bring here in this composition. I'm going to import my my layout, the one that I did in Photoshop, and I can say import, or I can just simply grab it and dump it here, and that will be added to my folder right there. And this is going to be my comic layout, and I'm going to put that one here on my page. You can see right away it's pretty large, which is good. And I'm going to just simply open up here the transforms. I'm going to scale it down for now, just to look at it and to see what the page is going to do for me. I may not probably end up being with that big of the page. I probably will end up with my composition somewhere here, probably at that length. But for now, I'm gonna keep it small so I can see the whole thing, and I'm going to animate it when I have my frames from Maya all embedded into this space. So I'm gonna just save my project because I have not saved it yet. So I'm gonna say save my project, and let me just put it right where it needs to go under my motion comic and the After Effects folder. I'm gonna call it motion comic project. Alright, I better just motion comic project. There it is, much better. Motion. Alright, finally. So I'm gonna save that. So I got that. So this is gonna stay like that for now, and I'm gonna dedicate some time to build my compositions. So I know that if you remember, let me just look at the actual image that I'm looking for here. The one that has my plan, which is this one, and this one says that I was going to render my initial rendering at 3000 pixels across. This one actually became 2000. I didn't save it, became 2000, and this one went to 3000. For some reason I lost my saved update. So this one became 3000, that one became 2000, 3000, 2000 and 3000. Anyways, I'm gonna create compositions for each one of those panels. Let me start with the top one. So, and that one is the one that's coming from that frame 22. I have all my assets here actually moved all into one folder, so I moved actually including my tune. I thought I had moved it here. I'll have to go and look for it in a minute, but somewhere in the movement it got left behind. But anyways, I have all my compositions there, and these compositions are all of course organized by frame 28, frame 24, and frame 62. All of them say ambient occlusion, but I know those are the correct ones. They are using the whatever the AOV gave it. So let me start with the first one. I'm gonna just go look at the first one, which is frame 28. I'm gonna open it up again one more time, just to double check the size of it. I could do that in After Effects, but let's just double check it here in Photoshop, just to confirm what it is. And there it just launched here. And if I look at my image size, I'll see that this was 3000 by 1689. So I'm gonna just close it there, I don't need it. 3000 by 1889. 3000 by 1689. So, oh, wrong window. Let me just close that and keep this window here. Alright, so I'm going to create a new composition that is going to be used for that. So I'm going to just go and create a new composition, say here new composition, and this one's going to call it panel 1. That is my top panel, and here I'm going to change that the frame size to that frame that I just said 3000 by I just forgot the number, so let me just look at it again. 1689 if I'm not wrong. 1689, correct. So 3000 by 1689. And I'm not going to aspect ratio, block aspect ratio. I'll need it to be square pixels, because that of course is going to be, and I'm going to keep it the same length for now, 24 frames per second, 24 seconds size, more than enough, but I'm going to just say okay. So I got panel number 1, and of course that composition is huge, but I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit. And now here I'm going to create, I'm going to import all the assets for that composition. So I'm going to say file, import. I'm going to import multiple files actually. Import multiple files. I'm going to import all of the files that correspond to that frame specifically. I'm not bringing them all. I'm just going to bring that one only. So let me just go grab them from my motion book images folder, assets, and I'm going to start bringing one by one. I'm going to start with the ambient occlusion, frame 28. I'm going to say import that one. This is not a sequence, so I'm going to say import that one. So that one's been imported. Then I go back out and grab, I'm not going to use the beauty because the beauty is just simply with the background. I'm going to say, I'm going to bring the diffuse, frame 28. I'm going to bring my shadow. I'm going to bring my shadow map just in case I need to use it. I'm going to use my specular. And I'm going to use my subsurface scattering. Although in your creature you won't be using this, but you never know. And transmission in case you have anything to glow, I'm going to just do that. So I got all of those, I'm gonna say done. So all of them come with a name ambient occlusion. So it's hard to tell which is which. So let me see. So this one is ambient occlusion for sure. This one I think is, I can double click on it just to look at it here. This one is diffuse, so I'm going to just change it right there in the name. That way I don't get confused at all. Diffuse dot. Alright, and this one is ambient occlusion. This one I don't know. So this one might be one of the shadows that I'm not seeing the alpha for it. So let's see if I can see it. Yeah, that one is a shadow. So I'm going to rename that one. I think that is the shadow. And then the next one, this one, let's open it up, let's look at it. This is the shadow map, slightly differently. So I'll rename that one. And this one is, look at how they're opening. This one is the specular. Yeah, it's a bit annoying that I have to rename them, but specular. This one is, if I'm not wrong, the subsurface scattering. You can see the translucency in the ear thing, so SSS. All right, and this one should be the transmission. Oh, not that. Transmission. Let's see. There is transmission, which shows me transparency behind it, so I'm going to rename that. It's always a good idea to rename them. That way, you don't get confused with them. So transmission dot, and then you still keep the number. Okay, I'm going to rename that. I'm going to not rename, but create a new folder so everything is organized. So it's going to be panel 1 assets. And I'm going to just grab all of those and put inside of that panel 1. Make sure you have, I'm going to do that because by accident you did something that I wasn't supposed to be doing. So diffuse into panel 1 and ambient occlusion into that one. So all of them got there. And notice how I have my master composition here and my panel 1 composition got added there. So I have my panel 1 assets with all my panel 1 composition right there. And my master composition still with the comic layout there. I can create a new folder for the master composition assets. So master assets. That way I can, just correct it. I can keep things a bit more organized, and I'm going to just use that into that. So I have master asset and panel asset. Panel 1, let me rename it because I'm going to have panel 1, panel 2, panel 3. So panel 01 asset. There we go. Okay. So what else I'm going to need? I'm going to need the background photograph because of course I need to do a compositing of that background photograph. So let me go and look for that photograph. I can just simply say file, import file, and of course that one is probably down up here under my images. I have it right there. Let me just put it inside of my all assets just to have it as part of the same. I'm gonna import those. It's a TIFF file. It's I think 4,000 pixels across. So it's a bit large compared to what I need. All right. So which is fine. Oh yeah, so I'm here in my panel number 1, and of course, as you guessed, we're gonna start by bringing in my my photograph. So you see that my photograph, when you zoom out a tiny bit here, my photograph is larger than my panel, than my window. So I'm gonna actually go and change the scale of it. If I press S, I'll show the scale. That way I can just bring it down to shrink this to the minimum size, or the, so that it's framed perfectly on the picture. You decide where you want it. I kind of like it the way it is right there, and it's a little bit far away, but it's okay. I'm gonna probably need that, and I'm going to grab here. I'm gonna put my first image on that background, and actually I'm gonna just grab from that. Let's just start with a good one, which is the diffuse. I'm gonna put the diffuse right on top of the photograph, and you can see right away my character got placed in the location that I want it to be. I can go back and change the scale of this one if I want it to be a tiny bit larger, but it wouldn't match, so I'm gonna just have to keep it there. There we go. That way you can see the edge matching as much as possible. Alright, so that one's good. One thing though is that when I rendered it out, this came a bit dark. It's not terribly bad dark, but it's a bit dark. So I'm gonna change the exposure of it. So I'm gonna go and search for my under my effects. I'm gonna look for my exposure filter. I'm gonna just put it on the diffuse. And remember, when I change the exposure to 2.2 under the gamma, that way, oh, that's a little too much. That's a little too much. I don't think it is doing the right thing. So I'm going to just ignore that for now. Normally I use exposure, but this one is not doing what I thought it would do. If yours comes too dark, I guess mine came out properly when I rendered out the EXR. So I'm going to keep it like that. It's a bit dark, but we're going to keep it like that for now. Okay, so I got the diffuse there. I'm going to put on top of that, let's just try playing with some things. The shadow is a bit dark there, so it might not be that I need the shadow. And I'm not going to put the shadow matte. I'm going to put the specular on top of it. So the specular is going to be right there. You see the specular matches perfectly. Let me go a little bit larger here so you can see better quality of my image. But the specular, of course, I wanted to overlay on top of the other stuff. I don't want it to be blocking it. Right now it's completely blocking it. So you want to have it changing the mode. If you don't see the mode, you need to toggle the switch here. So I'm going to change the mode to add. That way that will add on top of it, so we'll brighten it up a little bit more, and we can start seeing the specularity and the nice kind of reflection effects on it. You can play with that. You can play with any of this, whichever gives you the best results. Of course, after you decide on one, you're gonna have to use the same for all of them. Okay, so I got that one, and now I'm going to grab another one here. Just did specular. Let me try using the subsurface scattering. So I'm just going to grab my subsurface scattering right there, and that one again is blocking everything. So I'm going to just say add also. So that one overlays on top of it. You can see it right there, adding on top of the object a little bit of that. And then I'm going to add transmission on top of it a bit more. So that one, and then same way transmission is going to do add, because you need to build up on top of it kind of the glow, the light on it. So that one doesn't look bad. Now I want to see how those shadow effects apply to it. So if I look at, there are two different ones that I have. This one, I know if I look at the alpha for that one, I'll see that the one is just casting shadow on the ground. But if I look, remember, that's a panel. I'm going to go back to closer here so I can go back to my panel number 1. That shadow here, I don't really need a shadow there. So probably that one is not such a good idea to have. I need more, maybe shadow on him a tiny bit. I also don't have the ambient occlusion either. So let me try doing the ambient occlusion, see what happens. So I'm going to grab the ambient occlusion, put it on top of it. That one, of course, gets there. And that one I'm going to, of course, make, this one ambient occlusion you should use multiply to add on top of your object. And that just darkens everything a tiny bit. If it darkens it a bit much, you can remember, you can always go and open it up, transform, and change the opacity of it. So I can bring the opacity, let's say, to 50%. That way it gives me a bit more of the darkening, but not too dramatically. It's up to you. You're the one who decides what is the right number for you. And that one is okay. My object is not perfectly aligned with the photograph for some reason. I'm not sure if it is a matter of photoshopping the image. Let's see. But if I move it, I won't align it. Let me start to grab the image here. Try to move the image to see if I can align it better. Actually, I could just grab it. Let me just zoom out a tiny bit because I don't want to leave this black frame back here. So actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just change the scale a bit. I'm gonna just change the scale to say 76%. That way, it just gets out of the frame there, and now I can go closer. I'm gonna just move it so that it gives me a better match there, the best I can. Alright, so I'm gonna go back to 50 there, and doesn't look too bad, and I should be good for now. Alright, so I got that first panel taken care of, and I'm going to save here my file. Okay, I just have to stop my move for a moment because I wanted to bring my toon line that I had left it somewhere else behind. So I put my toon line folder in this save folder here. So I'm going to go and bring in my toon line here as part of the panel 1 assets. So I say file, import, file, and I'm going to go for my toon line. Of course, I'm just doing frame 28. I'm going to say import, and that one just comes in right there. And I'm going to rename it right away. So I'm going to call it toon line dot 0028. All right, and I'm going to just grab it and see how that looks. You know, I'm just trying to make a motion comic. Mine is very hyper-realistic, which is fine. Yours might be a bit more illustrative. It's up to you how you composite it. So I'm going to put my toon line right there on top of everything, just to see what it does. My line is green, so you can see it's just very subtle. So I can darken it if I wanted. I can actually change the exposure on it to say maybe I can just bring down the exposure so I can make it darker, but it's just a little detail on it. I'm going to say -1 just to see it there. There's one thing there that is giving me that line over the wall, so that one is not doesn't make me that happy. So what I'm gonna do for that is I'm going to just use a trick here. I'm gonna use the pen tool. I'm gonna draw a box around my character just to make sure it matches that wall, and then this part I'm gonna make sure it doesn't apply, and that masks right away. Of course, that was with the toon line layer selected, so that I put, instead of masks, a mask 1 that I just did for fixing the little problem. I probably could have done it from Maya, but at this point I'm not going to go back to Maya to render that out. So I got my first panel, and what I want to do with this is maybe play a little bit so that I can have my character maybe moving a little bit, and maybe even zooming out a little bit on that space. So let's see, maybe I can just do a quick simple zoom out in my sequence as if I am kind of a bit closer, a bit widening into my front, or maybe zooming in. Maybe let's do a zooming in. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use a scale option, and I'm going to move everything. I'm going to make it scale following the main the one option. So let's do that. How am I going to do that? I'm going to tell all the objects to move the warehouse, to follow the warehouse. How? Under the parenting, I'm going to say all of them are children, or follow the layer number 7. That way, I can now animate the scale of number 7 very lightly. Let's say, for example, I know that this is frame 0, this is 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I'm going to make it just for maybe 10 seconds would be the most. I don't think my thing is going to be longer than 10 seconds. I'm going to make it up to 10 seconds. So in frame 10 seconds, I'm going to just move my timeline at 10 seconds. I'm going to put and scale a keyframe on your just stopwatch there. And I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to just to zoom in by scaling up the layer. You see that everything goes a little bit bigger now. And now you see that the keyframe got created right away. So if I do this, you see, move my thing, you see that my panel 1 is animated in time there up to frame 10. After that, stay completely still. So you can do that. Additionally to this, I can probably make my character move a little bit forward, but the challenge with that is because it's clipped here, so that might not be a good idea. So preferably just gonna keep it simply there. I'm gonna probably make the character move in a different sequence, not in this one. Alright, so I'm gonna save my composition, save my project better. I'm gonna just say save. Oh, I closed it. Let's open it up. Alright, so I use that, and I have that panel 1, and I'm going to go and bring panel 1 into my master composition. So I'm going to go back to my master composition here, and I have my panel 1 right there. So I'm simply just going to go and grab it and put it on top of my comic layout. So of course it's huge, so I'm going to just go and change the scale of the panel. To try to match my image the best I can there. I can also move it manually. Let me change the opacity a little bit so I can see through. So I can go see my frame in there. And right there, when you see it, I'm going to just go and create a with the rectangle tool, with the panel selected, I'm going to click on top of the object, and I'm making a mask with the rectangle tool. So now you see that my object is matching my panel. Of course, I can just get out of it now. So you can see, and I can change back the opacity to 100. So my panel 1 follows the original plan that I had. And I'm going to save my project. Alright, so we made the first panel so far. If I move my timing here, you see my panel is moving inside of that rectangle that I made up to second 10. Alright, that's the first one. So we're good with that. I'm going to stop the video here, and then next one we're going to do panel number 2.